and is expecting to graduate in 2023. Next, we have Hyang. Hyang currently is working as an ESL aide at LHS Harmon. She currently resides in Louisville, Texas, and is a student at the University of North Texas, majoring in political science. The organization she is involved in includes the Tel Baptist Church of Texas, where she volunteers as the youth choir conductor and a discipleship ministry OC. She is also part of Chin Youth Organization Dallas as treasurer for the organization. She's hoping to make positive changes in her community and the world. Next is Enok Thang. Enok Thang is from Chin State, Myanmar, residing in Indianapolis, Indiana. He is a senior at IU-PUI, majoring in general studies. In the future, he plans on getting master's in administration so that he can become an assistant principal or principal at his school. He works as a tutor/translator with EL kids and parents at the school. Next, we have Emily Bartityang. Emily Bartityang is an upcoming junior at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis, majoring in political science. She is from Zopate Baptist Church, Indiana, where she is also active in the Christian Education Department. And finally, we have Esther Barr. Esther is a Master's of Public Health candidate at Indiana University, Purdue University, Indianapolis. She received her Bachelor of Arts in Biology with Health Science concentration from Missouri Western State University. Her volunteer experience includes Chin Women International Mission and being president of Missouri Chin Youth Organization. She currently works as a lab technician at Tron Foods and as area health education assistant at Mosaic Life Care. Also, she once worked as doctor for St. Joseph Baptist Church in the Christian Education Department. So that concludes all our team members. We would like to present key findings and recommendations from a new report released on June 24th, 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 24th,
The Burmese military and civilian forces fired at each other. Next, we have Tunsung Baptist Church. On October 14, 2021, the Burmese military occupied the church in Tunsung village in Hakka Township. They first stayed at the church, then looted and destroyed parts of the property. As you can see from the image, the church was left in shambles. They have no respect for our religion and property. Next, we have Johnson Memorial Baptist Church. On September 14, 2021, the Tetmedal station in Kantlang town fired on the Johnson Memorial Baptist Church in Kantlang. And Johnson Memorial Baptist Church is the second largest. On May 24, 2022, the Tetmedal burned down the church. All members have been displaced within Myanmar or to neighboring Mizoram state in India. The Burmese military have burned down churches in Hakka, Kantlang, Phalam, and Minda Township. These are just only some of the many that have been destroyed. For Chin people, our churches are our pillars. To destroy our churches is to attack our direct roots and livelihoods. They have continued to burn down and destroy our churches, and Kantlang has been the center of these attacks. Now I will turn over to my colleague, Mr. Enoch Tam.
My name's Enoch, and I'll be talking about the killing and detention of pastors. Pastor Zung Biak Hung of Kantlang Centenary Baptist Church in Kantlang town was killed by the Burmese military as he was fighting house fires started by them in Kantlang on September 18th of 2021. On December 11th of 2021, the Tetmedal arrested and detained Pastor Ungui while he was on his way to Ganpalet to purchase food. On December 13th, which is 2 days later, the pastor's dead body was found on the side of a road. The cause of death is reported to be torture by the Tetmedal. Also, if you look over here, that's Pastor Zung Biak Hung. On the left side, you can see that's him and his family. And on the right side, that's after his body was found. And also on September the 16th of 2021, Reverend Tian Lian Sang, pastor of Phalam Baptist Church in Chin State, was arrested in front of his house and taken into custody by the military. Upon arresting him, the military also confiscated 400,000 jets, which is the equivalent of $215 US, that he and his family had received after his father's funeral, as well as his cell phone and those of his family members. Reverend Sang was recovering from COVID-19 at the time of the arrest and remains in detention. Now I'll pass it on to my colleague, Emily Bartino.
My name is Emily, and today I will be talking about IDPs and refugees. Extreme violent attacks and targeted religious persecutions by the Burmese military has led to the mass displacement of Christians. 36,000 are displaced internally within the country, and over 39,800 have fled to India. Most have fled to neighboring Mizoram state, while others can be found in the states of Manipur in Nagaland. I urge you to acknowledge that there are real lives and real people behind these numbers. If you could turn your attention to the screen, the map on your far left showcases displacement trends of IDPs for the green part, and the red showcases internally displaced trends of IDPs from Myanmar since the military coup of February 2021 all the way up to May 16, 2022. And the middle and the map on your far right indicate scales of displacement in Chin State, Myanmar after February 1, 2021 military coup, as well as protracted displacement prior to the coup. And more information on these maps can be found on UNOCHA Humanitarian Update. Now I would like to pass it on to my colleague, Esther.
Thank you, Emily, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to our report about what is currently happening in Burma. Now I'd like to present some of our recommendations to the Biden administration and to the US Congress. And we urge you to help us spread these words so that it can actually get to the US government. To the Biden administration, we would like to recommend them to, number one, actively impose targeted sanctions against the military officials who have committed atrocity against the people of Myanmar, including against religious minorities such as the Chins. Number two, strengthen protection and assistance for internally displaced persons in Myanmar, including by increasing U.S. cross-border humanitarian assistance from Thailand and India, and by urging increased access for UN agencies and their implementing partner to those in need, especially IDPs and other needing humanitarian assistance in Chin State. Number three, strengthen protections and assistance for Chins and other refugees from Myanmar in India, Mizoram State, including by funding local effort to meet the needs of recent arrival and by urging increased access for UN agency and their implementing partner to Chin refugees and other in needs in Mizoram State, including the Mizo community. And to the US Congress, number one, pass the Burma Act of 2021, which the House passed on April 7, 2021. The legislation should be amended to promote religious freedom, to require the imposition of targeted and coordinated sanction, and to provide other accountability mechanism to punish those committing atrocity against the religious minority, including against the Chin community. Number two, increase funding to strengthen protections and humanitarian assistance for internally displaced persons in Myanmar, and to strengthen protection, humanitarian assistance, and pursuit of durable solution for refugees from Myanmar in New Delhi, India, Myanmar, and Thailand. Number three, increase funding to investigate and document human rights abuses by the Tatmadaw against religious minority in Myanmar, including against Chin. Last but not least, number four, conduct a congressional fact-finding mission to the Thai-Burma border area and Indo-Burma border area related to the humanitarian protection needs of refugees from Myanmar and related to the atrocity against religious minority refugees, including Chin Christian.
We strongly urge everyone here to join us, bring awareness, and advocate for the recommendations of the Plan. Thank you for your time and attention, and if you'd like to learn more and get more information, we also have the reports that we reference in our presentation here, so please feel free to grab a copy, and at this time we will be happy to take any questions.
Just raise your hands if you'd like to have a question. We'll bring the microphone to you.
Good morning. My question is about how the relations are between the Chin people coming over to India with the local Mizo population now. I know the two ethnic groups are somewhat closely related, but in the past there have been some tensions. So I'm curious how it is now.
Thank you for your question. And regarding that, Mizo people and Chin people are very closely related, and we view each other as brothers and sisters. And they have been actively supporting us, and they have been the ones granting us entry into the Mizoram state and providing us with refuge, whereas the Indian government itself is not very welcoming, and they have told the Mizoram state to not accept the Chin people, but they have denied that and still accepted us. So we are very thankful to them. Thank you.
Anyone else would like to ask a question? Here comes Ann.
So I'm Amber Walden with Jubilee Campaign. We would love to be able to take your information to the UN. Have you been engaging with advocacy at the UN level? And if so, have there been any favorable outcomes? But as an organization, we certainly are supportive of the situation. And I hate to say it, there has been very little media on this. The reports I receive are not, widely distributed with the U.S. media, and I think that has to be changed. And I really am grateful for all of you young people to be doing this, because without you and hearing your voice, we wouldn't even know that this is happening, but yet it is. And your reports are revealing just the level of atrocity. I mean, this is genocide, as you said. If they're attacking their houses of worship and leveling them, it's absolutely genocide. So I'd love to take that and wondered if you've been able to engage in what response.
So as we have mentioned before, we have this report by CAM, and we have been actively trying to promote this and getting our issues across. And we would love your help, and I think we really need it as well. We have been here for just a few decades, and we have still a lot to learn about advocacy and things like that. So any information that you can provide us and any help that you can give us would be really appreciated.
I just thank you for the question, and thank you for taking this seriously and taking this into your responsibility as well. And that's what we really want. And I just want to really kind of talk about the media for a little bit from my personal experience. So I think it was around May, we went and talked to our state senator deputy, and when we were in the office, the TV was playing, and behind the screen, as we talk about Burma and saying all of this stuff to him, the thing that was playing behind him was about Ukraine. And I'm not saying or belittling anyone about that, but it would just really be nice to, for example, one day, or really need help right now too, and we're not asking for anything but media exposed to, because we would really want is on this on the main the mainstream. We have been trying with our Chin news and to media and stuff like that, but because of our country and because the military, the people that are supposed to be protecting us are attacking us right now, they're blocking everything. So it just really hard for us to get it across to people. So we would really appreciate it if it can be widespread on a mainstream media. Thank you.
Questions, anybody?
This is not a question, but I like to sign a Jubilee campaign. We closely with both SOS, business functions and others, with and this is the way to go, folks. Work with people like this at ADF International. Thank you.
Questions, Ms. Yan?
Has there been any effort to rebuild any of the churches? And if so, what has the response been? Do they just fail to permit you to rebuild, or has there just been no opportunity? I'm just curious about rebuilding.
On that note, even if we have the capacity, the military has prevented us from going into Chin State, which is why we urge the Biden administration and the Congress to pass a resolution to assist us, which is why we are also looking at international level and international community to pressure the regimes to back down a little bit and let us take care of that part.
So another question on that. Do you have a resolution already drafted and proposed? I apologize.
That is so fine.
You do?
We do. In fact, last year the House already passed it, and now we are waiting for the Senate to pass it. In fact, after this meeting, we are going to the Senate House and meet with the certain members and then urge them to pass it as soon as possible.
Can we have the bill number?
Oh, in fact, well, the name, yeah.
It is also in the report, but it's the Burma Act of 2021 S2937. And after it passed, I think it's also HR 5497. It's also on the screen. And I just want to quickly talk about what the Burma Act itself is. It is to authorize the humanitarian assistance and civil society support, promote democracy and human rights, and impose targeted sanction. Targeted sanction with respect to human rights abuses in Burma and like many other processes.
Any more questions?
Related to the bill that was just mentioned, are there any particular targets of individual senators that you are thinking might be close that we would be wise to help support you in pressuring and strengthening voices?
Yeah, sure. The first senator that we would like to meet, if possible, would be Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, and also the Senate Minority Leaders, Mitch McConnell from Kentucky. Unfortunately, we look at the bill for the Senate, and it is not a bipartisan bill, and this is the reality. The problem is we also need both parties to come in hand to assist us in this. But unfortunately, like I said, this is just one party line. So we urge both sides of the people. This is not a matter of who win or what, and this is not something that they can pick it up. But this is, some people are dying. The number that we presented in these presentations are actual people, lives of thousands of many, in fact. And today will not be the last. That's what we guarantee. People will die, and even a minute delay in resolution like this to be passed, we are actually giving the regimes to do more damage than what's already done. Which is why we urge Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and also Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Chuck Schumer. Both party leaders has to come together and pass this resolutions. To that one, I do not know. I do not have no knowledge. But on the House, it's a bipartisan. That's for sure. A lot of Republicans and then the Democrat, they co-author this bill. On this Senate, in this Senate bill, we are going to meet them today, and that's when we are going to confront them and as a conversation, a serious conversations, and ask them to pass this. But as to answering your questions, I do not.
Any more questions? We have time. Yes, we have time.
So someone had to answer the question, can go to the podium because of why we're here. So I'm just looking at the bill right now. I just try to share some of my experience. I know that you expressed your desire to meet with Senator Majority and Minority Leaders. Chances they won't take an action on that. So you can come, they will receive you, but they will. What you should do is should speak to whoever is the chairperson of the Foreign Relation Committee. And I, on my side, I will try to help push with Marco Rubio. He's part of that. You know, he's my senator, and he is in that Foreign Relation Committee. So those are the persons you have to push, but not the majority leader. They will wait to see whether how the rest that they will give the, you know, they will not commit to anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry,
So that is for our live stream. So
yeah. Just Tim Crothers with International Christian Concern, and just yeah, thanks for your information. I know we've worked with the Chin Association of Maryland, and they're very good. They're hustlers, and we love the work they do for advocacy. We've been in conversations with them about the Burma Act on the bipartisan nature of it. I know it's been explained to us that the House side, even though it was kind of pushed, or sorry, the Republican side, the bill was pushed without Republicans fully signing off on it, and I guess there is possibly some political tensions there. However, the House bill did come through bipartisan, and I know it's been referred to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and so we expect HR 5497 to be the one that is amended going forward. And we've heard rumors that could be in the next couple of weeks that they do the markup, because it was hinging on the National Defense Authorization Act. There was a briefing that was articulated that had to go, and people were saying that Republicans were waiting to get the full story because they felt the bill might have been rushed. And so now that took place, I believe it was May 27th, that they do expect maybe to see some Republican attention. But at this point, we have been in conversation with a couple different members on that party, and it has just been slow to get their backing, and we're not entirely sure on the full explanation, aside from I know that there was concern that it might have just been rushed without their full input, and I think having those committee meetings will be an area where there could be some changes and maybe some revisions going forward. And so that's a little bit of our assessment going forward. But, you know, we really appreciate the efforts of the Chin Association and everyone who's really feeding into it and pushing this, because we do see it as something that would be very beneficial for this conflict going forward. So thanks.
Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Actually, I don't have any question because most of the question has been already asked by these lady and gentlemen here. But however, I just only have one thing I would like to say is congratulate on what are you doing here, what you've been doing. I mean, what you are doing is actually monumental given a young age you are. And for that, I really admire that. And that's all I can say is, you know, I can wish you well and keep up the good work. Thank you so much for sharing the story.
Absolutely. I think everybody agrees with that. Great job for you guys for being so young and taking charge. So any more questions anybody would like to ask or comments? We will take comments as well.
One comment here. Thank you from ICC.
Yeah. Thank you. Anybody else would like to make comments or questions? We have time for you. Sarah?
Yeah, my name is Sarah Combe. Yeah, one question is, what advice can you young people provide to other communities as to how to organize themselves, other communities similar to you in other countries?
One advice I would give is, even when it looks like there's nothing being done, if you don't take charge, you have to have the mindset that no one else is going to take charge. So have a good mindset of, I have to do this, I have to bring awareness to the people around me, I'm going to do whatever I can and give my part so that at least I know that I put my best in this.
That's really good.
Adding to what she says, we do have to be the ones to stand up. And of course, we have our youth. And what we need to do is, for my personal belief, we need to tell this to every person here, to our younger kids, to anybody. And I have a fourth grader. She's a sister, and that she's the only sibling that I have. And one day we were just sitting around, and she asked me, "Hey, brother," and I said, "What?" And she goes, "Why do we eat rice every day?" And if you think about it, it's like, oh, come on, we eat rice every day. But then I told her the reasons why we eat rice every day. I told her that we have to we have to self-sustain ourselves. We don't have the dollars, we don't have the markets there, and where I used to grow up about 12, 13 years ago, we didn't have electricity in my town, so it was hard to find food, do all that. And so when they ask questions like that, I think we need to teach them our culture, teach them all those things, so that in the future they can step up as well and be able to teach other people as well, so they can spread awareness. And yeah, yes, ma'am. Oh, okay. I thought you had a question. I'm sorry. But,
No, not a question, a comment.
A comment.
Culture, because we come from a culture that we have to keep silent about.
yes,
And
ma'am.
learning how
Yes,
to
ma'am.
speak to everybody up front is a great learning.
Yes.
With young age, I think that you have a great learning. Speaking out is really a problem. Yes.
All right, we're gonna end here with everyone needs rice, right? Can't survive without rice. I agree with that 100%. We're gonna have one more comment here, and we're gonna break out, and we'll come back.
Thank you. Can you please go back to the Pastor be home? Okay. Fortunately, we have here the brother of Pastor be home, Pastor Stanley John. Can you please share about this? How many minutes do we have? Okay.
We'll go this and we'll let you
know. Okay, thank you.
Okay, hello. I'm Stanley. I'm the eldest brother of Pastor Chung Byuk-hom. I'm the pastor of Emmanuel Chin Baptist Church in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I'm also doing my PhD at Asbury Theological Seminary in Intercultural Studies. On September 18, 2021, I got a phone call from my cousin from Battle Creek. He told me that we heard that there is someone by the name of Byuk-kol, because we call him Byuk-kol. Byuk-kol was shot dead by the military, and whether that is your brother or not. And I was shocked, and I texted him. I waited for a little bit, and then I called him. He didn't pick up, and I called my mom. And my mom said that we couldn't reach him, so we don't know whether that is him or not. So I waited, and the second time I called them, I called his wife, and at that time, his wife was crying, and he said, "I think that's him." And the third time I called them, the body was already at our house. Yeah, it was very difficult, and it was very shocked, because normally, as he's a pastor, he's always willing to help other people. So he was killed on the way to helping other people to put out the fire set up by the military, and he was shot dead twice in his chest, and they cut his ring finger off to steal his wedding ring, and then they stole his phone and then also his watch. So that's the last time that we had contact with him. And the next morning, because of the security reason, they have to bury the body, and then my family fled the town, and now they are residing in Mizoram. And yeah, sometimes I don't want to call my mom, because every time I call my mom, it kind of like that situation and that memory always comes back, and she always cried. And yeah, it's difficult, but I don't want to say that that's only our family's situation. That's only just one story of so many stories for the people of Myanmar. So if we are just waiting and doing nothing and watching what is happening, then we will hear more and more sad and painful stories like that. So today I would like to request all of you to have your compassionate act to help in every way that you can for the people of Myanmar. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Linda, go ahead and take us home.
Great. If there's no more questions, I just want to remind everyone that we do have copies of the report that we use to get our information, and a lot of our presentation information is from that report. So if you want more information, learn more about it, please feel free to grab a copy. Thank you so much once again for your attention and for your time. Thank you.
All right, everybody, we ask you to break out.